I'm a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason, and I'm a Knight Templar York Rite Mason. Then we have the 5 senses, and then the last 7, and you probably already figured out 3, 5, and 7, which are very Masonic numbers. But early in Masonry, Masons were encouraged to make themselves thoroughly familiar with the 7 liberal arts and sciences.
A simple banknote, a grand cathedral, a city's layout, each crafted with purpose, each whispering the hidden truth. The all-seeing eye staring from the dollar bill, the silent owl concealed in its design, the unmistakable square and compass woven into government buildings. Are these mere coincidences, or is there an unseen force guiding their presence? For centuries, Freemasonry has guarded symbols that defy time, symbols that do not merely decorate but communicate. They encode secrets once known only to the highest initiates, weaving a silent language into architecture, art, and even the logos of modern corporations. Some dismiss them as relics of an ancient order, their meanings long forgotten. But what if they are more than that? What if they are a map, one that leads to a secret so profound, so controversial, that even some Freemasons dare not speak its full truth? From the towering obelisks of Washington, D.C. to the intricate geometry of Renaissance masterpieces, these symbols are everywhere, hidden in plain sight, waiting for those with the knowledge to decipher them. But to uncover their meaning, we must first step into a world where geometry is sacred, numbers hold divine power, and architecture itself becomes a coded message to the initiated. What is the final revelation they conceal? And why has it been kept from the world for so long? To answer this, we must decode the secret language of Freemasonry symbols, and once we do, nothing will ever look the same again. Symbols have always been the language of the initiated. While words can be misunderstood, erased, or lost in translation, symbols endure. They are vessels of knowledge, carrying meanings that transcend time and language barriers. To the untrained eye, they may seem like mere decorations, but to those initiated into the mysteries of Freemasonry, they hold the keys to hidden wisdom. Freemasonry, like many ancient esoteric traditions, communicates through symbols. Its rituals, degrees, and teachings are encoded in geometric shapes, numerical patterns, and allegorical figures. Albert Pike, one of the most influential Masonic scholars, wrote in Morals and Dogma, "Symbols conceal from the profane the truths that the wise alone are destined to understand." This statement encapsulates the very essence of Freemasonry's use of symbols. They are meant to be deciphered only by those who have undergone the necessary initiatory process. But what are these symbols and why are they so powerful? The square and compass, the cornerstone of Freemasonry. Perhaps the most recognized Masonic emblem is the square and compass, often accompanied by the letter G. At first glance, it appears to be a simple representation of the builder's tools. But within Freemasonry, these instruments hold deeper meanings. The compass signifies the boundaries of human understanding, the quest for knowledge, and the need for self-discipline. The square represents morality, integrity, and the idea that one's actions should align with universal principles. The letter G, often placed at the center, is believed to stand for God, geometry, or gnosis, the sacred knowledge that Masons seek. Together, these symbols encapsulate the core of Masonic philosophy, the balance between the material and the spiritual, the earthly and the divine. They serve as a constant reminder that just like a stonemason carefully carves rough stone into a perfect shape, the initiate must refine their own character to achieve enlightenment. The all-seeing eye, the watcher of the initiates. Another widely recognized Masonic symbol is the all-seeing eye, often depicted within a triangle and radiating light. This symbol, deeply embedded in various religious and esoteric traditions, represents divine omniscience and spiritual awakening. While many associate it with conspiracy theories and hidden control, within Freemasonry, it has a more profound meaning. It serves as a reminder that the actions of the initiate are always observed, not by an external force of control, but by their own higher self. It is the ever-present awareness that one must live in accordance with higher truths, for the universe itself is a witness to all deeds. Interestingly, the all-seeing eye is prominently featured on the Great Seal of the United States, raising questions about the influence of Freemasonry in the formation of the nation. The phrase annuit coptis, meaning he has favored our undertakings, is believed by some to refer to the divine approval of the grand design, one that is encoded in the very architecture of the Western world. The twin pillars, the gateway to wisdom. Freemasonry frequently references two pillars, often labeled as Jachin and Bose. These pillars, originally found in the Temple of Solomon, symbolize duality, strength and wisdom, darkness and light, the masculine and the feminine. For an initiate, passing between the pillars represents the journey from ignorance to knowledge, from the mundane world into the sacred mysteries. This concept echoes throughout esoteric traditions, from the Kabbalistic tree of life to the Hermetic principle of polarity, suggesting that true wisdom comes from understanding and harmonizing opposing forces. Sacred geometry, the blueprint of creation. At the heart of Masonic symbolism lies sacred geometry, the study of geometric patterns that govern the universe. The golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, and Platonic solids are not just mathematical curiosities. They are the blueprints of creation itself. Freemasons, inheritors of ancient architectural wisdom, believe that these patterns hold the key to understanding the divine order. This is why we see Masonic influence in the proportions of great cathedrals, ancient temples, and even city layouts. Every structure, every line, every ratio serves a purpose beyond aesthetics. It aligns with cosmic principles. But why do Freemasons guard these symbols so closely? The answer lies in their function, not just as representations of knowledge, but as catalysts for transformation. The initiate who meditates upon these symbols undergoes an internal alchemical process. Just as base metals are refined into gold in alchemy, the human soul, through understanding these symbols, undergoes a similar purification. This is why Masonic symbols are not meant to be openly explained, but rather experienced. Their true power lies not in intellectual understanding, but in the transformation they ignite within the seeker. While mainstream interpretations of these symbols focus on moral lessons and ethical teachings, some researchers suggest that they conceal far more profound knowledge, secrets about the nature of reality, human consciousness, and the very fabric of existence. What if the symbols of Freemasonry are not merely allegorical, but encode instructions for something far greater, something deliberately hidden from the uninitiated? As we continue, we will explore how these symbols manifest in architecture, art, and even modern society, leading us closer to the ultimate revelation, the truth behind Freemasonry's most concealed secret. The hidden symbols in architecture. Throughout history, architecture has served as more than just a means to shelter humanity. It has been a vessel for transmitting hidden wisdom. From the grand cathedrals of Europe to the government buildings of Washington, D.C., structures across the world contain encoded messages in the form of sacred geometry and Masonic symbols. These designs are not arbitrary. They reflect the esoteric principles carefully guarded by the initiates of Freemasonry. But what exactly is being communicated through these buildings? And why have Freemasons, architects, and visionaries throughout history embedded sacred patterns into their designs? To understand this, we must examine how Masonic geometry influences city layouts, the proportions of sacred spaces, and the hidden numerical codes that point to something far greater than mere aesthetics. Perhaps the most well-documented example of Masonic influence in architecture is the very capital of the United States. Washington, D.C. Unlike most cities, Washington was not built organically. It was meticulously planned. The man behind its design, Pierre Charles L'Enfant, was deeply influenced by Freemasonic principles, and many of the founding fathers, George Washington included, were Masons. As a result, Washington, D.C. is not just a city, but a carefully crafted Masonic diagram. The layout of the streets aligns with specific geometric patterns that mirror the square and compass, the fundamental emblem of Freemasonry. The Capitol, White House, and Washington Monument form key points of an invisible grid based on sacred geometry. The pentagram, often associated with esoteric knowledge, can be traced within the roadways leading to the White House. But why? What purpose does this serve? The answer lies in the ancient belief that sacred geometry connects the physical world to the divine. Freemasons, inheritors of this tradition, embedded these designs in the very heart of the nation to ensure that its foundation was aligned with cosmic principles. Even the Washington Monument, a towering obelisk, is more than a simple tribute to the first U.S. president. Its shape is a direct reference to Egyptian obelisks, which were believed to channel divine energy. At precisely 555 feet, or 6,660 inches tall, the monument's dimensions reference Masonic numerology, specifically the number 33, the highest degree in Freemasonry. Is it possible that Washington, D.C. was built not just as a seat of government, but as a spiritual machine, designed to harness unseen forces? Long before Washington, D.C. was constructed, another type of architectural marvel encoded Masonic wisdom, the great cathedrals of Europe. During the Middle Ages, these towering structures were built by master stonemasons, many of whom were initiates in esoteric traditions. At first glance, cathedrals like Notre Dame de Paris, Chartres Cathedral, and Milan Cathedral appear to be simple places of Christian worship. But upon closer inspection, they reveal something far more profound. The squared circle and cosmic harmony. One of the most mysterious Masonic principles embedded in cathedral design is the squared circle, a geometric concept representing the union of the material and spiritual worlds. The square symbolizes the earthly realm, stability, and the physical. The circle represents the divine, eternity, and the heavens. Their union, achieved through careful proportions in architecture, reflects the ancient Hermetic teaching, as above so below. Cathedrals were not just places of worship. They were initiatory temples where the uninitiated would walk from darkness into light, passing through symbolic thresholds that represented stages of spiritual transformation. Just as in Washington, D.C., the number 33 appears repeatedly in the dimensions of these cathedrals. The significance of 33 in Freemasonry is profound. It is the highest degree in the Scottish Rite, symbolizing spiritual enlightenment and mastery. In Chartres Cathedral, the labyrinth at the center contains 33 loops, symbolizing the journey of the soul. The height of many cathedrals is designed in proportions related to 33, reinforcing the spiritual ascent toward the divine. Even in Da Vinci's work, influenced by esoteric traditions, the human body is often depicted in poses aligned with a squared circle, further connecting Renaissance art with sacred geometry. Were these designs merely coincidence, or were they deliberate attempts to embed higher wisdom into the structures of civilization? Fast forward to the Renaissance, and we find another period where Freemasonic architecture flourished. This was a time when ancient knowledge, once hidden in secret circles, re-emerged through art, science, and architecture. The Florentine masters of the era, including Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael, were deeply influenced by Hermetic principles. Many were either initiated into secret societies or had access to esoteric teachings, which they infused into their works. One of the most extraordinary architectural achievements of the Renaissance is Filippo Brunelleschi's dome atop the Florence Cathedral. Its construction, which defied the engineering limits of its time, remains a mystery. Some historians believe that Brunelleschi, widely speculated to have been a Freemason, employed ancient Masonic principles to achieve what was thought impossible. The design of the dome incorporates the golden ratio phi, a mathematical proportion found in nature and sacred structures. The Vesica Piscis, an ancient symbol of divine creation, visible in the dome's curvature. Hidden Masonic symbols, including the square and compass, subtly woven into the architecture. This was no ordinary construction. It was a manifestation of hidden knowledge encoded in stone. Why do these symbols matter? The consistent use of sacred geometry, Masonic numerology, and hidden symbols in architecture raises a fundamental question. Were these buildings designed as simple expressions of beauty and engineering, or were they meant to be coded messages for future generations? Many esoteric traditions believe that sacred architecture serves a deeper function. It creates resonance between the physical world and higher dimensions. This is why the squared circle, the number 33, and the precise alignments found in Masonic architecture are more than just artistic choices. They are blueprints for transformation, both personal and collective. If this is true, then the greatest cities, cathedrals, and monuments of our world are not just historical landmarks, but portals of knowledge, waiting for those who can decipher their secrets. But what is the final purpose of this grand design? As we move forward, we will uncover the ultimate revelation hidden within Masonic architecture, one that could change everything we think we know about history, power, and the nature of reality itself. Freemasonry in art and music. Throughout history, art and music have been more than mere expressions of beauty. They have served as vessels for hidden knowledge, encoded messages left behind for those who know how to decipher them. Among the great masters of art and composition, several figures stand out as initiates of Freemasonry, weaving Masonic allegories into their work as a way to preserve esoteric wisdom for future generations. One of the most famous examples is Leonardo da Vinci, whose paintings hold layers of meaning beyond their immediate visual appeal. His Last Supper, often analyzed for religious symbolism, also conceals sacred geometry and an esoteric understanding of duality, mirroring Masonic concepts of balance between opposing forces. Some interpretations suggest that his depiction of John the Apostle, who many believe is actually Mary Magdalene, reflects hidden truths about divine wisdom, much like Masonic teachings emphasize the pursuit of enlightenment beyond established doctrine. Another enigmatic artist linked to Freemasonry is Nicholas Poussin, particularly in his painting The Shepherds of Arcadia, where the inscription, Et in Arcadia ego, has been the subject of endless speculation. Some researchers believe the composition encodes the principles of sacred geometry, aligning with Masonic ideals of hidden truths revealed only to those who seek them. The figure's positioning within the painting suggests a deeper numerical significance, hinting at the Masonic reverence for numbers and proportions. But perhaps nowhere is Freemasonry's influence in the arts more direct than in the world of music. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, a known Freemason, embedded Masonic symbolism into his opera, The Magic Flute. This masterpiece is more than a tale of love and adventure. It is an allegorical initiation journey. The protagonist, Tamino, must undergo trials of purification, guided by the wisdom of Sarastro, who represents Masonic ideals of enlightenment and moral virtue. The use of the number 3, a sacred number in Masonry, is pervasive throughout the opera, from the 3 temples to the 3 ladies, 3 trials, and the 3 chords that introduce the overture. Mozart's music itself follows patterns reflecting Masonic numerology, subtly reinforcing the spiritual transformation of the initiate. His symphonies and operas contain harmonic structures that align with esoteric teachings, offering an auditory experience of enlightenment to those attuned to its meaning. These artists, through brushstrokes and melodies, ensured that the wisdom of the initiates would not be lost, embedding secrets within works that would survive long after their creators had passed. They understood that symbols, when placed in the right hands, have the power to transcend time, carrying messages meant only for those prepared to receive them. The corporate and modern symbols. In the modern world, symbols that once adorned Masonic lodges and ancient manuscripts now appear in places few would expect. Corporate logos, city designs, and mass media branding. Are these coincidences, or do they signal an enduring influence of Freemasonry on the structures that govern our daily lives? One of the most recognizable Masonic symbols, the square and compass, appears subtly in the logos of financial institutions, technology companies, and elite organizations. It represents the duality of logic, the square and spiritual truth, the compass, echoing the Masonic principle of balance between the material and the divine. Some researchers argue that the placement of certain corporate logos, especially those featuring angular designs with hidden compasses, suggest a deliberate nod to Freemasonry's ideals. Another striking example is the all-seeing eye, which has found its way into everything from government seals to multinational corporations. While often dismissed as a simple artistic choice, its persistent presence, especially atop pyramidal structures, suggests a deeper connection. The eye atop the pyramid on the US dollar bill is directly linked to Masonic iconography, representing divine knowledge and the overseeing presence of higher wisdom. This same motif appears in logos of major corporations, subtly reinforcing an idea of centralized power and omnipresent authority. Even the twin pillars, a foundational Masonic symbol representing the gateway to knowledge, appear frequently in modern branding. Banks, luxury brands, and media corporations often use jewel columns in their logos, echoing the symbolism of Jachin and Bose, the pillars guarding the entrance to Solomon's temple. These pillars are not just architectural elements. They represent the threshold between the ordinary world and the deeper truths hidden beyond, much like the initiatory path of Freemasonry itself. Beyond mainstream corporations, certain companies delve even deeper, incorporating sigil-like designs that bear resemblance to occult traditions. Some argue that these sigils, much like Masonic symbols, are crafted with intentional numerology and sacred geometry, meant to influence perception and shape subconscious recognition. Whether for marketing, power, or deeper esoteric influence, these symbols tap into an ancient knowledge of visual magic, a concept well understood by secret societies for centuries. So are these symbols merely artistic choices, or are they intentional reminders of an unseen influence? Whether by design or tradition, they persist, woven into the fabric of our modern world, carrying whispers of an ancient order that continues to leave its mark in ways most never notice. But if these symbols are truly guiding forces in our society, the question remains: who controls them, and for what purpose? The ultimate revelation. Baphomet and the hidden worship. For centuries, a single image has fueled fear, speculation, and countless accusations. A horned figure with wings, a goat's head, and a cryptic posture, Baphomet. To some, it is the embodiment of the devil, a sinister idol linked to dark rituals and forbidden rites. But what if everything we have been told about Baphomet is a lie? What if, instead of representing evil, Baphomet is the key to understanding one of Freemasonry's greatest secrets? The origins of Baphomet stretch deep into the annals of history, resurfacing most famously in the accusations against the Knights Templar. These warrior monks, once revered as guardians of sacred relics, were suddenly condemned as heretics, accused of worshipping a mysterious figure known as Baphomet. But was this truly a demonic deity, or a misunderstood symbol of higher knowledge? In the 19th century, the occultist Eliphas Levi gave Baphomet its most iconic form, a seated, androgynous figure bearing the words Salve Coagula on its arms, meaning to dissolve and to unite. This phrase encapsulates the alchemical and esoteric nature of Baphomet, the reconciliation of opposites, the merging of light and darkness, male and female, heaven and earth. In his seminal work, Dogme et Rituel de la Haute Magie, Levi described Baphomet as the embodiment of the reconciliation of opposites, a perfect balance between material and spiritual, known only to those initiated into the mysteries. This idea of balance is deeply embedded in Freemasonry. The Masonic path is one of inner transformation, a journey of enlightenment where opposites must be understood and unified. The concept of duality, represented by the twin pillars Jachin and Bose, the checkerboard floor, and the square and compass, mirrors the very essence of Baphomet. Could it be that the misunderstood figure is not a god of darkness, but a symbol of hidden wisdom, reserved for those who seek truth beyond conventional teachings? And if this is true, what else has been concealed? If Freemasonry's greatest secret is not power, but knowledge so profound, so disruptive, that it has been forbidden for centuries, then we must ask ourselves, what else have we been deceived about? From the very foundations of architecture, art, music, and corporate symbols, we have traced the path of hidden knowledge, an invisible force shaping the world around us. Freemasonry's use of sacred geometry, ancient allegories, and esoteric wisdom is not merely an aesthetic tradition, but a deliberate act of preservation, ensuring that its secrets endure across generations. And yet, everything we have uncovered so far is just the beginning. If you think you've seen everything about Baphomet, if you still believe it is merely a symbol of evil, then you are not yet ready for what comes next. Because the final revelation is not about what Freemasons worship, it's about why. And that will change everything.